You're losing gunfights you should be winning, and it's not your loadout, it's your aim. These 5 pro tips are gonna fix the tiny mistakes that are costing you your 1v1s. And the last one, most players don't even realize they're doing wrong. Tip number 1 is aiming with movement, okay? And not a lot of players do this or think about this while you're shooting your enemies. And I'm not talking about just rotational aim assist. We've heard of rotational aim assist. If you're watching this pro level video, you probably know what that is. Briefly, for those that are maybe a little bit more beginner level, rotational aim assist is literally using your left stick, your movement stick, to activate a little bit more aim assist. That's what we call rotational aim assist. It's trying to help you out, right? Aim assist is trying to help you out aim, and they're realizing that if you're moving left or right, you probably need more help aiming, right? Well, in Call of Duty, if you strafe left or right, the aim assist is broken. Rotational aim assist is broken, right? So furthermore, yes, that is great. That is a benefit of this aiming tip. But how many of you guys think about correcting your aim with your movement alone and not just your right stick? I think a lot of us, when aiming, we get very right stick happy because that is our aiming stick, right? But how many times are we just off barely and all we need is to just use our left stick to recenter on our target, right? If I'm shooting at this enemy over here and I'm just missing him barely, rather than trying to correct it with my right stick, all I have to do is, if I'm a little bit off, I just have to slide over. And what happens is that basically makes our right stick focused on recoil control, or just simply pulling down. If you guys don't know what recoil control is, right? Every gun has a recoil pattern like this. We just want to be able to pull down to correct that, right? So if my right stick is focused on recoil control and my left stick is actually worried about the aim, that's when it's going to change the game for you. So many of you guys are aiming with your right stick because that's what's common, rather than aiming with your movement. So I want you to make a focus. Next time you go out to play, next time you're picking up targets, your enemies, you're shooting bots, whatever, come into the firing range right here to test it out. Aim with your movement. I want you to think about, if you're missing shots left or right, correct that with your movement. It's also going to help you activate rotational aim assist even further. So not just the concept of rotational aim assist, but actually thinking about aiming with your movement. And where else does this help is when you're peeking behind cover. This is a great place to test this right here in the firing range. For those of you guys that want to work on aiming with movement and getting this down, is I'm just gonna pop behind cover right here and I'm gonna pick up this target. Okay, let's say my centering looks a little bit low, right? It's like at his knees. I'm not going to be able to stick out here in a real game, right? So we're just going to shoulder this. I'm going to realize that my centering is too low. I'm going to fix it a little bit, move it up, and then I'm just going to strafe out and aim with my movement. That's all I was doing, right? It's great when popping behind cover because I can get my centering down, and then I'm just popping out and aiming with my movement. So not only does it activate rotational aim assist, it makes your aim much smoother. So when thinking about our aim, we want to keep it as smooth as possible. And to do that, right stick is thinking about recoil control. Our left stick is the movement to actually aim, right? So that's all going to come into one. Where else does this help? Well, guess what? If you're moving to aim, you're also going to be a harder target to hit. How many times have you aimed down sight at a target or at a really sweaty player and you see them bouncing left and right, strafing back and forth? Well, yes, it's not just to activate aim assist. Sometimes it's actually to help them aim. Well, guess what? It's giving them multiple benefits because now they're even a harder target to hit. So I want you guys to take this into your next game, into your next rebirth match, even shoot bots like this, right? Practice aiming at your enemies with your movement. Pro tip number 2 is what I call trigger timings. We've talked about this here on the channel before, and let me tell you, this is a game changer. If you guys struggle to hit shots from long range, listen up very carefully. What a trigger timing is it's the difference in time between when you press your trigger and pull down on your right stick. The idea here is that we want to sync those up perfectly, right? So to explain this further, every gun has its own recoil pattern. We already know that. And to combat that recoil, we got to pull down, right? It creates this little dot. Now, what a lot of you guys are doing is your trigger timing is actually late. In other words, you're pressing your trigger and then you're controlling recoil. So it ends up looking like this little balloon right here. The idea here is to sync these up better so it ends up looking like this dot. Have you ever watched like a streamer or a pro player shoot bots or shoot players in game and you're like, dude, this guy's aim doesn't move. Like, how is he shooting so straight? Well, first of all, recoil control in Call of Duty is not very hard. You literally just pull down. But secondly, their actual trigger timings are on point. So I want you guys to practice this. Shoot some bots here in the firing range and work on your timings. Are you shooting right when you're pulling down on your right trigger? If so, you'll be able to keep it pretty steady. If not, you'll probably miss targets like you normally do. Pro tip number 3 is Hipfire more. Simply put, Hipfire more. I know it sounds like a basic tip. We're going to talk about it here a little bit more in a second, how to do it correctly. You guys need to Hipfire more, man. I see way too many people from about 5 meters in not using their Hipfire enough, right? And when I say 5 meters, if I mark this target right here, back up to 5 meters, if I'm within 5 meters and I Hipfire right here, I'm going to hit almost every single bullet from the hip. I don't need to ADS all the time. It's going to do a couple things. It's going to allow me to actually track the enemy better, and it's going to allow me better movement as well, right? And when I say tracking the enemy, how many of you guys have had an enemy slide right by you and you're stuck in the ADS, so he breaks your camera and he kills you because he slid right by you? Well, that's because our ADS sensitivity is much slower than our Hipfire, right? So that's why I want you guys to Hipfire within 5 meters. If this guy breaks left or breaks right, I can track him from the hip. If I'm stuck in the ADS, it's going to be too slow and he might just break my ankles again, right? So I want you guys to Hipfire more, but I want you to focus mainly on one thing. A lot of you guys are not doing this, and that is tracking from the hip. Your Hipfire tracking is not good. So if this guy breaks left or right, I want you guys to actually track him and focus on your tracking out the hip. For some reason, a lot of us, what we get stuck in, and I was a victim of this too, is when ADS, like from long range, we're going to track our target because we have this, you know, bright blue reticle right here that I'm shooting through, and we're going to be able to track him like that. But when I start firing, I lose the center dot, right? The center dot disappears. Well, for some reason, we also stop like trying to actively track your enemy. I want you guys to focus on your actual tracking from the hip. We do it from long range. We're tracking our enemy long range, you know, when he's down the hill or he's on a cliffside. But for whatever reason, when we're up close, we kind of just like get in a room, panic, and spray and pray. A lot of you guys, that's because you haven't gotten enough close range engagements. And it kind of like, you know, people like startle you up close and you're kind of just like panicking, spraying and praying. But once you get this repped out enough, or you guys get in enough close range gunfights, I want you to make an emphasis with your Hipfire on the actual tracking of your enemy. All right, pro tip number 4 is building a pre-fire habit. And the reason I say pre-fire habit, we've all heard of pre-firing areas, right? Like when you're coming through a door and you think you hear somebody, you're just going to pre-fire even without seeing them at first. I want you guys to build this pre-fire habit. And the reason I say it's a habit is because it's not natural. Like unless you think about it or you practice it enough, you're just simply not going to do it. And I actually fall victim to this exact thing. And once I start focusing on it more, especially with my close range engagements, it really does change the game for me. Because how many times are you guys losing by like 1 or 2 bullets? You're like, dang, I should have won that gunfight, but I lost by like 1 bullet. Well, a lot of the time, especially close range, pre-firing is your answer, right? But you have to build the habit. So I want you guys to actively think, next time you go into Rebirth or a ranked game, I want you to start pre-firing your angles more. And when we're talking about pre-fire, I want you to think about 2 things. One is audio cues. If you have any audio cue, if I know a guy is, you know, in here, let's actually go find somebody, right? If I know this guy is around this corner of this bus, because I can hear him over there, I want to pre-fire, okay? Because I want to get the jump. The peeker's advantage is not simply enough. I want the peeker's advantage and a pre-fire to come through, meaning I want to pre-fire his location and then track him and actually pick him up, right? So that's one, focusing on footsteps in your actual audio cues to pre-fire. Your second thing is your centering has to be really good. So we talked about predictive centering before on this channel. I'm basically putting the center dot where I think this guy is based on my sound cues. So instead of, you know, coming around the corner and then just like peeling around this way, I'm going to put my center dot where I think he's going to be so I can slide and my center dot is already closer and I have to make minimal adjustments to actually hit my shots. So build this pre-fire habit, focus on it, and take it into your next game. All right, the last and final pro tip is what I call the snap. Tip number 5 is the snap. And what I mean by the snap is, simply put, it is getting onto your target or snapping onto your target as fast as possible. And you're like, Mark, I already tried to kill my enemy as fast as possible. But how many times do you guys actually focus on the snap? When I talk about snap, I'm saying getting to center mass as fast as possible. And once you attempt to get there, obviously we're not going to be perfect, right? If I snap on this target and I'm off, that's when I make the micro adjustments. Like tip number 1, I'm going to adjust with my movement, right? To get to center mass. But you guys have to emphasize tip number 5 here. When I say the snap, it's the actual speed and like which I get to my target. If you're not focusing on getting to your target really fast, then they're probably going to beat you by those 1 or 2 bullets we were talking about earlier, right? Every tip that we're talking about here is trying to give you guys an actual advantage in your gunfights. And the snap does exactly that. When we're thinking about the snap, we're talking about speed to center mass of the target, and then making those micro adjustments after that, right? So once again, just another example. If I'm using my AR, I'm just snapping and then I'm making micro adjustments with my aim, and most of the time with my movement, like tip number 1. There you have it, 5 pro tips to get you guys right on the map and start shooting some more nukes, okay? If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know down below. Leave me a comment. The comments are always super encouraging and help me make more of these videos. Also, subscribe to the channel if you guys are brand new. We're almost to 100,000 subscribers. We're almost to that silver plaque, man. So freaking close. Thank you guys for all the love and support. If you guys want to check us out live and actually implement these tips, watch me implement these tips live on stream, kick.com/MarkClarkk. We'd love to have you guys over there, hang out with our awesome community, or ask me any questions that you guys may have. And until next time, make sure you guys check out this video right here.